Hey Internet, good morning. Today I want to talk quick about something that's happened in terms of internet marketing in recent weeks and months. If you run any kind of website, you're probably aware of this thing called GDPR. It's this European Union attempt to regulate privacy and cookies and the experience of being online and all that. Now, while there's some good intentions there, no doubt, it's also the source of a lot of problems. And one of the potential problems that it leads to is, first of all, the creep effect, right? The mission creep, some people call it, or the slippery slope of trying to regulate internet by any means, especially in the way that the EU loves to do it, which is overhanded bureaucracy. It can slow down, have a serious impeding effect on commerce and on other internet innovations and technology innovations that could otherwise benefit people around the world. You can see that the effect of delaying these innovations has already caused a macro slowdown in the European Union in terms of competing in the internet space with the likes of the United States or even China, right, which is much more the Wild West these days, or even African companies that are frankly very free from regulation, and if they're just online, they already have a massive leg up over their competition because they're not held back by crazy regulations. So GDPR, while it's all nice and while it all, may fit some academic purpose, is really counter to the aims that it's supposed to serve, which is to protect people's privacy, which it does not do, because having a banner on your site that says we use cookies is, first of all, ridiculous. Anytime government tries to regulate technology, it just fails, right? I mean, pretty much it doesn't work, right? You can look at any number of examples. Congress tried to regulate what technology would be in the space shuttle. The space shuttle, until its very end mission, was running a computer internally that was limited by 64K because of an act of Congress 30 years before. I mean, it's patently ridiculous. I don't know if you remember, there was a crazy thing called the V chip, which is supposed to be a chip to moderate and regulate against violence in content online and in videos and in television. That was back in the 90s. That failed miserably because who the hell is going to install a V chip on every single device that they own in order to protect somebody from seeing some act or whatever that they don't like, and that somebody then has to, on the government side, have to regulate, police, monitor. It's just patently ridiculous. Government trying to stick their nose onto your website and saying, you must have the following text on your website. It's ludicrous before it even begins. If you've noticed, if you have a WordPress website, or if you use anything like Akismet or Jetpack or any of those kind of things on your site, you've no doubt noticed that they've been offering you recently the ability to, with a simple click, enable some kind of banner and text that protects you from GDPR. Well, as somebody who is partly European and holds a EU passport, among others, I say, screw that. Refuse to put that on there. And as a matter of protest and point of fact, you should absolutely deny and refuse any attempt to put on GDPR warnings on your site. That's, it's just a simple act of defiance that you can do, which costs you nothing. And if you market to people in Europe and you're a legit marketer, you absolutely have every right to do that. And for the EU to assume that it has a right to space on your website, and not only that, right? In certain countries in the EU now, in fact, throughout the EU, what this also means is that the coming regulation is they're going to be charging people per click, a small tax, right? They're going to charge you if you're a publisher, they're going to charge you for visits to your websites, and they're going to charge you for everybody who clicks on any link in your website. So if you have links pointing to anywhere in the world, you need to have all kinds of, regulatory, satisfactory stuff put in place in order to enable the government to now charge you for every link and click you have on your site. So again, these are things that the European Union is doing to absolutely stifle and kill any innovation attempts, because all they really know how to do in the EU is to be a bunch of socialist pussies. That's a technical term. And all they know how to do is steal from their own citizens and then claim it's done in the name of some greater good. Well, it's not. Your citizens work very hard to earn their revenues and pay their taxes, or God knows whatever else they do with their monies, and you absolutely do not have the right. I'm speaking to the EU government, right? The EU government absolutely does not have the right to do any of these things, and for them to assume that they have this right is an act of fiat assumption, which can be laughed at thanks to the decentralized nature of the internet, which brings us to the second point. Cryptocurrencies, right? Cryptocurrencies allow us to, well, frankly, laugh at these ridiculous centralized governments and tell them where to stick it, because, frankly, they deserve it. They've done nothing by giving us these ridiculous regulations in place and assuming that we are just going to happily roll over and bend over and give them free real estate on our websites, and they assume that we're just going to do whatever they say because there's some government. Well, guess what? The internet is beyond one government, right? Yes, it was invented by the Defense Department of the United States as a DARPA project, and it has since expanded to a global and very decentralized medium, which cannot just simply be turned off at the flick of a European bureaucrat switch, right? Now, maybe it can be turned off by some guy at DARPA, right? Who knows? But actually it can't, right? Because it's been decentralized. There's a number of top-level name servers that are scattered throughout the world, and no one person has access to all of them. And that's been like that for a while now. You're welcome. And so the point of cryptocurrency decentralization is that it now enables you to basically say, well, I don't earn my money from fiat governments. I am not beholden to them. If I take everything that I earn through crypto and keep it there and find ways to use non-fiat currency for the overwhelming majority or even entirety of my expenses, then these governments have, really nothing upon which to prey when it comes to my business, your business, whoever's business, and they can stick out of our business, right? Because bottom line, being an internet entrepreneur, being a nomad, if you want to call it, or whatever, digital nomad, and doing your own thing in this new era of information technology and global village and all of that, it's all for naught if you're still beholden to some system you don't agree with that preys upon your work and takes from you without asking, and just assumes that it has the right to do so because they happen to exist in some place that you might have been born or you might live. That doesn't, give them that right by nature. That only gives them that right by laws of man that are meaningless if you are beyond their control. And there are ways to get beyond their control. And for you to do that, one of the easiest ways to do that is to contact my marketing agency. Go to YashaHarari.com. Obviously, you know that or you wouldn't be here. And check out what we offer in terms of helping customers become true digital nomads and how to avoid getting scammed by governments that are trying to force you to, basically eat whatever they're going to shove down your throat, whether that's a GDPR or GDPR cookie-enabled notice or some other kind of BS that they're throwing down the pike. And by the way, it's not just the EU that does this, right? It's all governments all over the world are trying to get a piece of this. And the best way to make a difference for yourself, right, is to not give in to these suckers and to find ways around them, and to tell people like that, hey, you want to put a warning on my site that warns your citizens that they're coming to my site. I'm not going to do it. I don't see why I should waste the bandwidth on that. If your users are too ignorant to know that there's cookies on the internet, then they're not on the internet. Because obviously everyone that goes on the internet, one of the first things they see is messages about cookies, right? So if you don't know how to do that, internet user, then get the hell off the internet. I don't know what to tell you. Learn something before you use the internet. People are marketing online. That is a good chunk of its purpose. In order to enable the economies and the commerce that move the modern world. And if you're not comfortable with that, you're not comfortable with being marketed to, don't give away any information that you don't want to be marketed to, right? Don't give away your name, your age, your location, your address, your phone number, your whatever the hell it is, your email address. Don't give that up, right? Have secondary or backup or fake accounts or whatever you want to call them, so you can receive all that crap in those inboxes, and you can easily just delete them without having to worry about it. And at the same time, if you're a publisher, don't put these silly notices on your website because you're just killing your own traffic and you're just harming your own business, and you're not helping anybody by saying to them that you have cookies. If they wanted to know that, they could have read your privacy policy 20 years ago, right? And you would already had that information in there. So this is a non-starter, but unfortunately it's taken over quite a few websites, and it just looks horrible, and it's slowing down websites. It's killing the user experience. It's definitely killing commerce. I'm seeing that for a lot of clients in the EU, or a lot of clients who serve the EU and are nervous about not serving all the regulations. And they've ignored our warning not to do this, and now they're paying the price. And the ones that did not ignore our warning and are, blatantly telling the EU where to stick it, and that they don't need some European regulator to tell them how to run their business online outside of the EU, and that, they don't need the EU to tell them what to do if some EU visitor happens to visit them. That's their problem. People who are standing for their own rights and demanding equal treatment under the law, and not to be specially, cast out because they're web publishers without these silly notices. Those are the ones that are succeeding right now, not the ones that are caving in at every turn. And if you're afraid of regulators, rethink your business model, because you shouldn't be. You're doing something wrong if that's causing you to have sleepless nights or worries or anxiety. You should be loving publishing online and reaching and growing your audience and marketing to a larger audience. Otherwise, again, you're doing it wrong. So, all right, that's it. I'm going to keep it, it's not as short as I wanted, but it's still shorter than usual, I think. In any case, be sure, to hit the subscribe button. You know how that goes, right? Is it there? Is it? You know where it is? There's somewhere in here. Yeah. Anyway, hit that. Hit the social things. Tell your friends and colleagues. Leave us the shares and the comments and the likes and the hearts and all that stuff. Repost it, retweet it. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. Let people know that this podcast exists for marketers. Really not interested in having anybody else join this list, obviously. And until next time, take care.